So,
what were you doing just now?
I don't know what they're doing.
I was breathing in. I was saying one moment. Well, I was about to get up and beat your ass.
Oh,
I mean, please do. I'll just continue on. So. First of all, I want to say thank you to each and every last one of you who have been enjoying these History of Power Rangers videos so far. If y'all hadn't said that y'all wanted more of this, I probably wouldn't be doing it. Even though I said I was going to be going all the way through. If y'all didn't really take much interest in it, I probably wouldn't have liked it so much. But y'all did, and a lot of you have been asking and begging for more since the last one we did, which was Operation Overdrive, I want to say. No, it wasn't. It was RPM.
RPM.
I keep forgetting. For some reason, I keep remembering the bad shit instead of the good shit. Because RPM was actually good.
Fucking Rita Repulsa's son.
RPM was actually good. I'll say that. But then I wanted to give a break. I had my mind be processed and everything. Also,
and Corona hit.
And then Corona hit.
Corona's been hitting.
But I mean, Corona's been hitting. But yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, this time I'm gonna put this first instead of doing the Sentai review. That I always do the Sentai review first, and then I do the History of Power Rangers. This time it's History of Power Rangers. And then after that's done, I'll do the Sentai review. But this is something that I did not bother. I did not watch this. Yes, I kind of looked at little tiny bits of it when it was on TV because it aired on Nickelodeon. Okay.
I thought it was.
It did. This was on Nickelodeon because for some reason they just decided to give it to Nickelodeon.
Yeah, this is the start of Nickelodeon era.
Yeah, this is Power Rangers Samurai. Now, at first I was hyped about this because okay, finally Power Rangers coming back, right? And as it started, I see where they were going with it, and it's just like okay. I didn't really.
We didn't sign up for it.
I didn't sign up for it. That's all I'm gonna say. I know people are gonna say, "What? It was great. It's a great series, and this and third." I don't think so. I just don't think so. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong. Before anybody says that, like people like freaking Epic Fable, God, he's been calming this man. First of all, shout out to Epic Fable for being a trooper, because he's commented on at least every last Power Ranger Sentai thing I have done.
Is he a good guy?
I don't know. Sometimes he tends to be very annoyed with other things we say, and sometimes he just tries to fact check something that I said.
Should we kick his ass?
No, dude.
Oh, no. Okay.
But either way, I appreciate him. I do. So this is it. Power Rangers Samurai. We're just gonna go through this because this is the first one where I'm completely in the dark about this. Completely.
I got
in the dark, but I'm like
a little bit of knowledge of it. And what I can say is, out of 1 through 10, I'd give it a 4.5.
You spoke very low. I don't think anybody heard it. I didn't hear. I'm behind you right here.
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
Even though the video hasn't even started yet.
Yeah, it's good at some parts, but then it just slumps. It just slumps.
I'm just waiting for like the part where the guy's like, do you know how many themes they put through with this? And they put some corny thing, and then like the rap thing comes through. And
oh no! You're gonna probably get up and walk away with this. But yeah, let's continue. Let's start.
Get myself ready to get up and walk away.
Oh shoot! God damn it! Hold on.
Or should I get my guns for this? Oh boy.
Hold up. Hold on.
I'm not gonna like this. I can feel it now. Oh boy. I'm shuddering already.
I'm Kevin, and I'm here to fight with you.
Wrong person.
I'm sorry. I didn't know the Red Ranger was a girl. I mean, if you were a guy, I wouldn't mind showing my chest to you.
Welcome, my friends, to Power Rangers Samurai.
The Green Ranger is lazy.
Well, we finally reached this point, my friends. We have now reached the point where I am doing History of Power Rangers on a season that was made while I was working on History of Power Rangers. Hell, I even gave my thoughts on it at the time in a previous installment as the series was happening. My thoughts since then, well, they've changed a bit, but that's what time and reflection will do. The same thing seems to have happened for a lot of fans. Re-evaluation of the series after something that is perceived as worse has come along. I think part of the problem with the series and how fans viewed comes from the absence of Power Rangers material. The general perception that the earlier Saban seasons were better than Disney seasons, but also that the previous real season of the show, RPM, was such a creative success despite all the behind-the-scenes tumult. Thus, when it was announced that Saban had reacquired the series and was making a significant effort in relaunching it on Nickelodeon, it was seen as, the dark times are over, our true savior has returned! Even though, as I hope I've illustrated in previous installments, there was just as much good during the Disney years as bad. This is what happens with a long-running television series. Not everything is going to be great. And like so many series that have come before this, the new season had a lot of things working against it. The first, of course, was the Sentai. It was believed by many fans that Shinkenger, this particular Sentai, would actually be skipped over if it was acquired, since Shinkenger is heavily ingrained in Japanese culture and history.
Right.
Not just the samurai stuff, but iconography, calligraphy, societal expectations, and ethos.
Exactly.
It's almost like once Power Rangers officially ended, Toei went, whew, don't have to worry about those Americans anymore, let's make something all about us for a change. It was almost daring America to adapt it. And they did. Except there was a bit of a problem there. See, television shows do not happen overnight. Unless you're South Park, but that's the exception. It takes time to develop a series, cast people, write scripts, produce said scripts, filming, editing, get approval by censors, and that's not even getting into all the varied individual steps of each of those parts of the process. Speaking of, some previous creative alumni were asked to come back for one reason or another. This includes Amit Baumick, who wrote a proposal for the series about a team of international rangers defending Stone Canyon, Angel Grove's often mentioned rival city. What's more, I've read that Judd Lin was apparently approached to write for the series again, but declined since he preferred a working relationship where he was more actively involved in lots of the production other than just writing. As always, I get this information secondhand, although Amit has posted his proposal online, so I can't say for certain about the accuracy of some of this stuff. However, it goes to show that the series was having difficulty in getting itself creatively off the ground, particularly because of the turnaround time. The series was apparently bought and rushed into production within 6 months, as opposed to a year so it could premiere at the beginning of 2011.
Damn.
It shows. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, Samurai is not a good series. Its big problem is in its writing. The acting is not great overall, but frankly, even really talented actors would struggle with dialogue like this. And the reason that the writing is so terrible is that in a lot of places, it's a note-for-note translation of the Sentai. There are several episodes where it's pretty clear that they just ran the script through a translator and adjusted a few words, but otherwise it sounds like something that was originally in Japanese and made much more sense in Japanese. I suppose that's one way of solving the cultural barrier issues with a Sentai like Shinkenger. But it's difficult to start your big relaunch of the show like that, and believe you me, there was a lot of promotion for both this and Megaforce, particularly due to the 20th anniversary fast approaching. Although that's something we'll get into next time. As I've stated before, I am not interested in the Sentai, so I rely upon others who have said that a lot of Samurai is a note-for-note translation of it, but I'm not going to judge it by that standard simply by how it's presented before us, even though the dialogue is sometimes plainly obvious in its translation. For now, let's just get started with Samurai. For reasons that utterly baffle me, when Nickelodeon premiered the show, they did not premiere the first episode. They premiered the third episode called The Team Unites, which sounds like a first episode, except the plot of the episode is not about the team uniting, but a Green Ranger-focused episode. Indeed, the actual first episodes of the show did not come until the end of the season. I've heard Nickelodeon does this sometimes.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that happened.
They premiered the third episode first and the first episode last?
But why?
Let him explain it.
Oh, alright. Okay.
Why? You're gonna confuse confuse people by doing that, especially if it turns out the show is serialized. I thought long and hard about whether I would just start from the premiere or go with the real first episode, and we're going with the real one. The DVD lists the first episodes properly, and we will not honor stupidity. So let's get things going with the origins of our team and, Origins. This is gonna be SPD with the titles all over again, isn't it?
Oh,
we open in the city of... City? There's also an opening explanation for the premise of the show, much like the ones in Ninja Storm, RPM, and a few other seasons, but we'll skip that. A little kid is trying to find his friends, who seem to have vanished, and we never get resolution on that, which leads me to believe something much darker happened to them, particularly with the next line of dialogue.
A gap is an entrance and exit between the netherworld and ours. Do not peek in, for on the other side is the home of the evil Nylok.
Before this kid can find out what happened to his friends, the foot soldiers are attacked by CGI. We'll later learn this is called a folding Zord, which, like the old Generation 1 Transformers, can pretty much grow massively in size in its robot mode despite normally fitting in the palm of your hand. And thus we're introduced to our Red Ranger.
This is the 18th leader of the Samurai Power Rangers. You have two choices. Retreat now, or become rust on his blade.
Don't bother. I don't want them to retreat.
For an opening sequence, this is badass. It's got mystery and terror for the little kids, but also a really cool entrance and introduction to our main hero. If this had been the introduction we were given, I think people would have had a lot more optimism about the series, particularly since it also uses the theme song to great effect during the battle. Oh yeah, let's talk about the theme song. An unintended side effect of showing the series out of order like they did is that the theme song for the first 2 episodes is the version from the end of the first season, meaning it shows the 6th Ranger as part of the team, despite him not entering until the usual spot.
You're kidding me!
Surprise a bit. You'd think they'd correct this for the DVD, but nope! Thanks for showing how much you care, Lionsgate. And yes, for some reason, despite the prior 17 seasons being conveniently available in awesome sets put together by Shout Factory, Lionsgate handled these ones, at first releasing them in sets of 4 episodes to a DVD, in multiple boxes, meaning I do have the entire first season of Samurai on DVD, except it takes up the equivalent of 5 movies on my shelf. Super Samurai was actually released the same way, individually, although later on both seasons were released in a larger case, although stacked haphazardly in a single row. At least they put more episodes on per disc than the full first season box, which still has 5 discs. I know it's a minor point to harp on in the grand scheme of things, but I guess it just bugs me because Shout Factory's DVDs are just so damn good by comparison, with nice interiors and all the discs separated in like 8 to 10 episodes per disc. Then again, I just really like Shout Factory, and how could you not when they worked so damn hard to restore as much of the music as they could to WKRP in Cincinnati, though that's neither here nor there. But yeah, the theme song. It's a remix/cover of Go-Go Power Rangers, replacing the end with Rangers Together, Samurai Forever, which I'm okay with, since it goes with the season. It's a welcome change to have the music back after so long, even getting a new underscore version of it for fight scenes and morphing sequences. The singer isn't as good as Ron Wasserman's original, but I'll take it. I'm a sucker for this song. Mind you, the most annoying thing about this is that they felt the need to have the characters yell out their names, as if they were worried the little kids would forget. Speaking of higher quality...
Yeah, about that. That is the first positive look I got from somebody saying that this was actually nice. I did not enjoy that at all.
Well, okay.
I didn't enjoy it at all. One, because if you are going to bring back Power Rangers, the biggest complaint that every Power Ranger fan has is that we can't move on from the original. Anything that was the original series. That's the main complaint. Is that every time somebody talks about Power Rangers, it's always about Mighty Morphin.
It's almost like Pokemon too.
Yeah, it's all they have to go back to Gen 1 all the time.
Yeah.
That's the main minor complaints, because there's so many Power Rangers series. Why do we always focus on one? So
that's because it's the best one, honestly.
But but that doesn't give other series, Power Rangers series, a chance to be their own. It would feel like just like a redux which is what this was of the original song, Go Go Power Rangers.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's that's just the main complaint that a lot of Ranger fans have, including for me, because if I think about Power Rangers, I do not want, even though I love the original, I love Mighty Morphin, but I don't want to be reminded of Mighty Morphin with every single season. That's not about Mighty Morphin. Especially the fact that the Zordon era was done when Power Rangers in Space ended.
Yeah.
So, come on. Y'all could have did better than that.
But in fact.
And I'm not even salty about you not having Ron Wasserman in there. I mean, back, prior to the other videos, I was upset that y'all could have got Ron Wasserman to do the theme songs, but you didn't. That's fine if you couldn't. It doesn't say that he's always going to do Ranger, themes.
Yeah.
That's not all that. That's not fair to him. But at the same time, you could have did this better. Especially about, samurais. Come on, man.
Don't forget the budget. The budget is also a factor.
Yeah, and also the budget.
Yeah.
Not that it's our fault though.
But they still gotta pay. Don't they still have to pay like a certain amount of money to pull from references and stuff?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And that's all I'm trying to say.
Quality stuff. As you can see, the series is now in HD, and it looks beautiful. Mind you, some of that just might be the general cost of how things operated in 2011. You're harder pressed to find equipment that isn't widescreen these days. Anyway, our Red Ranger demorphs, and we learn that our mentor, named Mentor, and that one is not a joke, his name is Mentor G, says that he's been training Justin Bieber here all his life.
I'm used to fighting alone. I don't want to put anyone else in danger.
The Nalok attacks are escalating. More and more of them are coming across to do their evil.
Sure, and if any more Moogers dare pay us a visit, they'll get a taste of my spin sword.
What's so funny about this exchange is that it's kind of the driving force behind the entire season. Jaden's inability to act as part of a team, whether the show realizes it or not.
Teams of samurai have battled this evil for centuries.
What's interesting to me, at least, is that this series pretty much confirms something that was already either heavily implied or at least never outright stated. That there were Power Rangers before the Mighty Morphin era. Oh, sure, there are the Wild West Rangers that Kimberly helped invent, but then you have stuff like the Shogun Zords, or various other ancient devices, weapons, and Zords that have been buried on Earth for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Basically, there's an entire legacy of Rangers that has extended into the past. Maybe they were all Samurai Rangers. Maybe they had their own themes going for them, but they existed and were present. The Mighty Morphin team was simply the first to be publicly documented. If other records existed of those teams, they could have been lost to history, taken away, and classified by governments and other powerful organizations, or simply that the time travel crap that's happened on the show, particularly during Time Force, screwed around with history enough that they were mostly erased or the knowledge of them lost. Boy, wouldn't that be something fun to explore and talk about? Perhaps for some kind of anniversary season! Anyway, Mentor G says that there are 4 other people like Jaden who have trained all their lives to become part of the Samurai Rangers team. Over to the Netherworld, where instead of Beetlejuice, there's just a lot of red filters. We meet Octaru, the second in command of the evil forces, who spots a boat rising from the water. On board the boat is this lady strumming the Power Rangers theme.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Again, that's what I'm talking about. Why? Why?
Because nostalgia. Villainous nostalgia.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, it's not anything that serious, but why?
Because nostalgia. Very villainous nostalgia.
You can keep saying that, but that's not really the reason.
That's the real reason.
They did that for an aesthetics, I believe.
And villainous nostalgia.
And honestly, that actually they could have made that the theme song, because that's more samurai. That sounds more samurai than Go Power into Samurai.
Yeah,
they could have did that. That would have been great. That would have been great. Somebody make a custom theme song with that tune in it, please. Somebody.
Probably already did.
Probably did.
I was gonna say there's probably 33 different versions out there.
So, Daiju, where's the big red one?
Given that your entire dimension looks like Waterworld on Virtual Boy, I think you need to be a little more specific. And thus we meet our main villain, Master Xandred. And boy, is he unimpressive.
Silence, you fool! I have a splitting headache this morning, so zip those lips, unless you want to spend the rest of your life untying those noodles you call a face.
Gotta love generic, gravelly villain voice who whines about his headache. At least Rita occasionally casts some spells. Xandred spends 99% of the series sitting on his ass drinking booze, medicine for his headache, just yelling at everybody and being pretty much less intimidating than Divatox. I mean, heck.
Plus, I want to point out that what Linkara just said was actually correct. It's not anything serious, and I wasn't trying to say anything about the Sentai, but in the Sentai version, he was actually drinking sake.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe he's like a because it is on the ship, so he's probably a pirate.
He's a yokai.
He's a yokai.
Oh.
He's a yokai.
Then I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Hell, even Lothor bothered to go fight the Rangers himself once in a while.
You're pretty grumpy for someone talented enough to talk with his mouth closed.
Okay, that was funny. Xandred and Dayu are a little out of date, just learning now that the Samurai Rangers are still around. After dispatching a monster to go terrorize Cityland, we start getting introduced to our other team members. First up is Kevin, who has aspirations for his swimming career, but is told by his father that he now has to go and join the team. We get glimpses of others. Mia working at a daycare, Mike at an arcade, and Emily practicing on her flute. The monster type for the season, referred to as a Nylon, emerges from a gap along with a swarm of Mookers and trips a sensor, ones that are placed all over the city to alert our heroes of danger. We see G and Jaden at their base of operations, the Shiba House, learning of the attack and how they need to summon the others. We even get a flashback to Jaden's father, the former Red Samurai Ranger, saying farewell to the two. Naturally, such an important and defining moment of his childhood is his motivation as a character, the single most important element that will get continually called back upon and referenced, and maybe even working out his father issues. Yeah, this is barely a footnote. Frankly, it'll get referenced, but not for anything important. Anyway, the other Rangers are summoned by the most efficient method possible, shooting a magic bow and arrow.
Message for you, son.
And as the Rangers are summoned, we have the first sign of some of the translation issues. See, in Shinkenger, the Rangers had a full support staff who would even bring banners into battle and whatnot to announce their presence. Kind of like a cheerleading squad.
Time the fuck. He was in the middle of a swim meet, just so happened to notice the arrow before he jumped into that. What the fuck? What the play the goddamn that? What the fuck, man? What was that?
Getting mad over
Stupid ass. That was stupid as.
And no, why somebody in the comments say no? Why somebody in the comments give a logical explanation as to why that happened and why Mentor G shot one arrow but 4 arrows showed up. I want somebody to explain that. Every Fable, explain that in the comments down below.
But
how that was possible.
I get he's a ranger. I get it. He's the only one that just so happened to notice the arrow land next to somebody's foot. The arrow either landed next to somebody's foot or in somebody's foot. He was like, "That's an arrow. I should dip off." What kind of shit? Play the goddamn video.
Squad. But here, it's just Jaden and Mentor G. Occasionally other people are allies, but they're not really the types to act as chauffeurs. So when a car pulls up to Mia with the Samurai logo on it, you're just left scratching your head wondering who the hell is that picking her up. I don't know, maybe it's one of her family members. Might also be previous Rangers, given what we see next season, but as par for the course with these seasons, it's never explained. The Morphers, called Samurizers, are still cell phones, which bugs me, but what especially bugs me is that they've been modified from the Sentai. Normally I'd prefer that, but the method of alteration is what's annoying. There's supposed to be a calligraphy brush on the end of them, since a major factor in the series is the symbol power, i.e. using techno-magic, you could just say magic, but then why are they cell phones, to fashion solid objects with the magical calligraphy. But the calligraphy brushes were removed despite them still using the same concept. Yeah, I don't get it either. Anyway, as you saw in the teaser, the Rangers start meeting each other, Although I really
So you're saying that we can do an American version of Samurai?
The American version is simple. It just does like those morphers. Instead of having the brush part, they just have the light on the end of the cell phone.
The brush part was actually significant.
It was, and that's why I liked it. I like that.
It was. I actually liked that. That was a nice little.
Stupid.
Well, you know, it was the phone. Flip it over, brush, bam, 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 and you know.
Yeah, for the American version, it's flip, it's light.
I'm just like, no, come on. I get. Now, if you're gonna make a series about samurais, at least leave the stuff that's a part of samurai culture in there. At least do that. Now, don't take things out.
Budget.
Oh, come on. Budget for paintbrushes, really?
Yeah.
It's a paintbrush, y'all.
Wasn't in the budget.
Never realized the Red Ranger was a girl thing. Could have just been a joke, could have been clever foreshadowing, although I doubt it. He gives them the big speech.
Let me warn you now. If you follow me, there is no turning back. Do not accept because you were trained to do so. Accept only if you are willing to commit and fight as Samurai Power Rangers with all your heart.
We'll get back to this. So with the attack underway, clearly they need to speed over to deal with it. Or change clothes into their training uniforms. That works too.
Go, go, Samurai!
Because it's also quick movement and happens in a lot of shows and cartoons.
Despite the cell phone morphers again, I do like the method of transformation, the colorful morphing sequence, and the outfits. The calligraphy thing is a wholly unique thing to them, and that last smack of the symbol is badass. The suits are well balanced color-wise and really do convey a traditional robe or kimono. Really, the only thing missing for a samurai series would be the armor, which is oddly enough really only an American thing, but we'll get to that. Speaking of American-only things, the puns. Oh dear lord, this is a series where people need to shut the hell up. Jaden didn't need to consistently be throwing out jokes and puns during the earlier fight scene, and it was friggin' awesome. So why do they feel the need to put them in here? Hell, I wouldn't even mind if this built to something, like Jaden's insecurities as a leader. You know, like if he said, we need to be serious and not be such a tight ass, but nope, it's just puns and jokes for the sake of puns and jokes. Again, this is something I'll get into more with Megaforce than this one, but the attitude that they take with this season is, well, we need to recapture the spirit of Mighty Morphin to try to hit that same zeitgeist, without realizing that things have changed. It's even more bizarre given Jonathan Zacher is back as showrunner. While the guy has his problems, he did direct a lot of notable episodes of Power Rangers and served as producer for several story-heavy seasons, yet the ones he produced under this Neo-Saban era feel like regressions. Although that could possibly be attributed to being out of the director's chair for a while. If IMDb is to be believed, his significant contributions after Power Rangers were as a producer on a TV movie about Arnold Schwarzenegger, 2 direct-to-video horror movies, and executive producer on a thriller called The Echelon Conspiracy. All of which are a bit far and away from overseeing a show about multicolored superheroes hitting rubber-suited monsters, who are also following historical Japanese feudalistic customs for some reason, so I think we can forgive some regrowing pains. Anyway, Jane says they can defeat the Moogers together, and then proceeds to do most of it himself by making his sword turn giant-sized. Teamwork! I should also note another element of the weapons tech for this season, the spin discs. Aside from being incorporated into their weapons, the discs can unlock other capabilities of their weapons, if not new weapons altogether. However, the battle's not over after they defeat the Nihilok. This time, them turning giant-sized is just a built-in feature.
Each Nihilok has 2 forms. You saw the first. Now get set for the Mega Monster.
Using their symbol magic, they can transform their folding Zords into, well, actual Zords. But for some reason, doing so also upgrades them all into Mega Mode, which I should explain. As I said last time, Bandai was going ahead with a toy line whether there was a show to promote it or not. In 2010, there was the reversioned Mighty Morphin Power Rangers that helped promote a new toy line of it there, but they had apparently already begun working on the Samurai toy line before the show had been confirmed as happening. In fact, there are early in-production images featuring the original Mighty Morphin actors' head sculpts in the Samurai toy line for the figures that flipped their heads into the helmeted form. However, they were also constructing the Mega Mode figures as a kind of powered-up form in the toy line. Saban apparently apparently was also already planning on refilming the cockpit scenes, ostensibly for being too Japanese or something. I don't know, I never watched Shinkenger. So they decided to promote the toys anyway by creating the Mega Mode suits in the flesh for the new cockpit stuff. And frankly, I love the Mega Mode suits. They actually feel like a natural extension of the powers, especially since it gives them proper samurai armor. And let's face it, it's sure as hell better than glitter. The only disappointment is that we never see the Mega Mode suits outside of the cockpit sequences. Amusingly enough, as part of the Folding Zords concept, their spin swords get upgraded and can, in turn, be folded up to serve as the control joystick of the Zord.
Samurai Rangers, victory is ours.
Despite Origins being billed as a two-parter, it really isn't. Part 2 just introduces the Samurai Megazord and its massive helmets, outlines some supposed character development for the others, but also features the return of the true heroes of the franchise.
You know, kid, you really gotta watch where you're going.
The addition of Bulk into the series was likely a last-minute choice, most especially evident in one glaring problem with this season. They don't interact with the other Rangers. There are some exceptions to that, which I will talk about later, but a lot of the editing points out that they were rarely on set together. Clearly...
Yeah. Okay. So...
Oh, boy.
First, if you're gonna make a series about samurais, it being two samurai is not the problem. Second, that did kind of suck. That the only way you'll ever see like samurai armor would be them in the Megazords. Because if you're gonna make that type of stuff, which probably costs a lot of money, why not have them be outside fighting in the armor? That would have been great if you're gonna make a toy line talking about it.
I mean, honestly, if you wanted to use them outside of it, you could have scrapped those old suits and just made the end armor, the end Megazords one the actual suits, and just had those be the suits. That's just my opinion, though, because those actually, like you said, they actually look like samurai armor instead of just plain. See, it's more like ninjas than samurais. Like, to me, that's just me though, but. Yeah, just make them more samurai-ish versus like Myrmidon-ish. Like they're just swordsmen. Like I don't know. It's just dumb.
But the question is, does samurai wear armor most of the time?
Some do,
some don't. That's probably why. Which is probably why in the Japanese version they didn't put armor on them.
Like,
which was fine.
History-wise, I think the daimyos and most of like high officials wore them with those posters and stuff.
Yeah.
Other ones were just some of them were like Myrmidons, where they just had swords and they practiced samurai principles and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Thirdly, it was nice to see Bulk. It was nice to see Bulk, but the fact that he didn't interact with any of the Rangers, that
it's pointless.
Sucked. That was pointless. Because that means this entire series was just to make the old fans who like Mighty Morphin to shut the hell up.
Pretty much.
But they just added Bulk. That's it.
And his nephew.
He probably made $3 million probably just standing on camera like, hey guys, I'm Bulk.
Shoot, not even that. I don't even know they even get paid that much.
Still, Bulk was and probably still is a very popular character. So
yeah,
be surprised
still is. So
if he made at least $1 million standing on camera with his fingers up, like, because he's Bulk, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But that's just my opinion. Don't take my word for it.
Bulk was brought back for comedic effect, not sure why they didn't bring both Bulk and Skull together, and possibly to bring back lapsed viewers, but otherwise their inclusion makes very little sense when they rarely, if ever, do anything with the Rangers. There was speculation that there were plans to adapt certain Sentai plots with Bulk, including a brown Shinkenger thing that didn't get adapted, or Spike becoming the Gold Ranger, but nothing solid is confirmed. And yes, Spike is Skull's son, with rumors being that he eventually hooked up with Kimberly, but again,
Jonathan.
And difficult to accept given the respective personalities, even with Bulk and Skull's character growth. But yes, like the seasons of old, I actually found Bulk and Spike the highlight of the season, even if the shtick doesn't have quite the same perfection that it did in the old days. We'll be looking over their characters more at the end, but here's the deal.
And what I'm gonna do is train you to become a samurai. I'm an expert in the field of samuraiology. I have a bit of history with the Power Rangers.
Did I ever tell you about the time we enslaved 2 amnesiac monsters, and yet they didn't murder us when they got their memories back? The goal of the villains is also revealed in more detail. They want to flood the Earth with the Sanzu River, which flows in their realm. The gaps between dimensions are already there, but they need to get all that red water from one universe to the next. The way to do that is by making humans cry. Somehow, the tears of humans mystically transform into water in the Sanzu River. The monster attacks are designed to create enough despair and tears in humanity to flood the river and allow them to openly invade. Otherwise, Nilox can't sustain themselves on Earth without the waters of the Sanzu River. They dry up. One thing of note that's a bit more subtle that I picked up on was the villain music of the season. If the dialogue is a bit more low-key, you can hear shades of the original music used during the first season for Rita's Palace. Hell, they even create an updated version of the Bulk and Skull music. I prefer the original in that regard, but it's still enjoyable. Origins is basic. We learn things about our main characters, supposedly setting up arcs for them, but they're not really all that important in the grand scheme of things. There's a bit of grandiosity to what they're doing, I'll admit, but that's standard by this point for the show. It does a lot of things right for how a season should be started, except for a lot of people, particularly the kids, it's not the start of the show because some idiot decided to show the 3rd episode first! However, if this had been the actual start, it would have been pretty interesting to see where things went. The villains are boring to begin with, not even hinting at some of the stuff that would come later, but there are definitely a lot of unique ideas present.
Rangers together! Samurai forever!
So let's talk a bit about the victory is ours and samurai forever thing, because there really isn't much else to talk about for another few episodes. One of the first major steps for creating your own unique series, be it an action-adventure show like Power Rangers, or yes, even a web series of internet video reviews, is creating mythos. I don't mean legends and complicated backstory for everything. I mean elements to your series that make it distinctive, the tone you're trying to set with it, and a status quo for how things operate. Some of that is as basic as iconography, symbols, repeated visuals, or just a style for how it looks and feels that makes it instantly recognizable as that series, even if it's shown for someone who otherwise is unfamiliar with the work. Here's one that's probably familiar with most Western audiences. A maiden on a balcony with a man pining for her below, and the two exchange sweet words for one another. It's an instantly recognizable symbol for Romeo and Juliet. By that same token, mythos can be developed through words and phrases. Beam me up, Scotty. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Martini, shaken not stirred. These are all examples of phrases associated with a franchise that enter the popular lexicon and are instantly recognizable in their origins. It helps make a series more memorable in the minds of the audience. Power Rangers has several. Go-Go Power Rangers, words like Megazord and Morpher, and that's why the repetition in particular here. The Neo-Saban era is all about trying to reinvent Power Rangers for a new audience, to strike that same chord again for people who have never heard of this stuff before. Much like how RPM sought to capture the imaginations of younger viewers with post-apocalyptic imagery they wouldn't normally be familiar with, or entice older viewers with seeing in what ways that familiar iconography is played with, Samurai is trying to create new mythos for a new audience. It can get annoying for some because it seems like other seasons blended it in differently, but it was still there. To quote the Plinkett reviews and one of its own form of mythos, you might not have noticed it, but your brain did. As with all seasons, power-ups and new weapons are acquired. First up is in an episode called Day Off, where the titular Day Off lasts all of 7 minutes, while the rest is the team focused on defeating an enemy. The new weapon is a spin disc that Jaden has to master, the Beetle Disc.
There are secret discs passed down from previous generations of samurai.
Most have been lost in battle. This may be the only one left.
How exactly do you lose track of those? These aren't spare Yu-Gi-Oh cards. These are essential weapons in your war against an ongoing threat. Are you using them as coasters or something? Anyway, unlock Lacking that power gives them a Beetle Zord and turns his big-ass sword into a big-ass cannon. And almost every new Zord they get adds on a new helmet for the Megazord that's even bigger and sillier than the last. The villains also start using giant foot soldiers, something I think we've maybe seen once or twice before, and yet never in any substantive capacity. You'd think they just run through the city, cause as much destruction and misery as possible, but nope, it's always just support for the monster, and they're easily defeated. The first major plot detail is revealed in Sticks and Stones, wherein a monster attempts to make humans cry by shaming them with insults, which then manifest as physical attacks that blast them away. It's actually a pretty clever concept that naturally is wasted by having him reveal tame insults on the Rangers like, "You're boring," and "You can't cook." However, the thing he says to Jaden,
You're a red-faced liar, liar, pants on fire! You've got a secret!
More on that much later. Less later, a whole 2 episodes in fact, they get another Zord, the Swordfish Zord, which naturally is done in the most logical manner possible, by having Kevin trying to catch it with a fishing line with the aid of a random fisherman, who apparently made a lot more sense than the Sentai. And giant helmet. The more important thing that happens, though, is that this skull-faced dude appears.
So, the Samurai Rangers have returned. But so have I.
You are not even kidding. He's followed up on in the next episode, Here Come the Brides, probably the first episode of the season that I would actually call legitimately good, hinting at future storyline stuff, the Rangers thinking outside the box with their strategies, and of course, more Bulk and Spike.
Meditate on the image of your samurai sword, cutting through injustice as easily as a knife slices into cake.
Spike, I ever tell you about the time your dad and I became heroes to the planet of Horath? Anyway, the plot involves Dayu kidnapping brides, who are apparently more upset about missing their wedding day than being kidnapped, mostly because of her own backstory. More on that later, but we find out who Skullface is.
Decker.
The cursed warrior.
Decker loves talking about his phallic symbol, I mean his sword.
Uramasa, my trusty sword.
And I mean he loves talking about it. Awkwardly.
My sword, Uramasa. My sword, Uramasa. My sword, Uramasa. My sword, Uramasa. My sword, Uramasa.
He seeks a worthy opponent to defeat, fixating on Jaden for that goal. He basically spends most of the season either challenging Jaden or saying he's not ready to fight him yet, even attacking other Nihilots who would threaten his ability to fight Jaden. I can't seem to think of anything else of note I should bring up about him. Oh, hi Cole. How's that whole veterinarian thing going? Yeah, okay, he's not Cole in this. I haven't really been bringing this up, but Power Rangers actually reuses actors pretty often, particularly the New Zealand ones. I don't know if that's because New Zealand's acting pool is smaller, or if they just prefer working with people they're familiar with, but for whatever reason, actors reappear when you least expect it. From this season alone, we've got Rick Medina, who was Cole and is now playing Decker, and Renee Naufahu is Mentor G, but he also played Grum in SPD. Hell, in Jungle Fury, the Spirit Master Gwyn was played by Michelle Langstone, who played Kat in SPD. Camille in Jungle Fury was also Lily in Mystic Force. I didn't recognize her at all until it was pointed out to me. Hell, speaking of Mystic Force, Phineas was Boom in SPD and did multiple voice roles throughout the franchise, including Flit in Jungle Fury and Norg in Overdrive. Dude's versatile is what I'm saying. Hell, all of these actors are versatile. It's why it's even more confusing when Megaforce comes up, but that's for next time. So another 2 episodes after the Swordfish Zord, they get another one, a Tiger Zord. And nothing interesting to say there. Say, Decker, you got any insight?
If I can't finally fight a worthy opponent and bring him to his knees, then what's the point in being immortal?
Well, there's lots of stuff. There's knitting and movies and, knitting. Well, maybe some interesting stuff is happening with the Rangers.
Can't believe this is happening.
What are you thinking? That's Kevin! No matter what,
Nah, that just doesn't work. He's being forced to do this. I should be more respectful with my music choices.
brother, tell me what are we fighting for? We got to
It goes to show how just really uninteresting the show is, when the most intriguing thing that happens is when Decker shows up in human form to comment on the battle, giving a little swordplay lesson. Oh yeah, and the 3 new Zords can form into the Samurai Battle Wing, which is like a giant plucked bird that lets the Megazord fly, yada yada. On to actual plot stuff. In Test of the Leader, the villains do some research and discover that the power to seal the Nilox in their realm, Master Xandred included, rests within the power of the Red Ranger and his family, the Shiba family. Okay, a lot of people have pointed out that it's odd that Jaden, a white guy, has a Japanese last name, but honestly, one of his descendants could have been adopted into the family or married into it. Really, the annoying thing is why the hell they didn't just cast someone Japanese as the Red
that's
Ranger.
what I'm saying.
They've already got all the Japanese trappings anyway, so why not just go for it?
Right.
Especially since an Asian Red Ranger is still something that hasn't happened in Power Rangers in 20 years! Anyway, Xandred, in his anger, unleashes a horde of Moogers to Earth, where naturally Bulk is quizzing Spike about their samurai code. Spike, can I ever tell you about the time your dad and I got transformed into chimpanzees? Actually, the plot stuff that happens here is that Mia rescues Spike and thus he gets a crush on her. It goes nowhere aside from goofy antics. After they hear Xandred's voice calling out for the Red Ranger, the group returns to the command house. G explains to them what's up.
There is a secret symbol that can create a seal. The previous Red Ranger used it to imprison Master Xandred. That symbol is how Jaden's father was able to seal Xandred away last time.
The problem is that the symbol spell requires incredible amounts of powers and training, so much so that, as is obvious, Jaden's father was unsuccessful in permanently sealing away the Nilox. The other Rangers decide that they have to dedicate themselves to protecting Jaden, though he orders them not to. Now, there is a legitimate reason why he's feeling this way, and it's not out of just friendship, but that's something to talk about later. Instead, it's time for our 6th Ranger to enter the picture. And I'll give it this, it's a unique approach. He first appears in Unexpected Arrival.
Finally! I have arrived!
How unexpected! Anyway, he uses his fishing rod as a bow and arrow to send a message to the Rangers. See you soon. Well, now he's expected, so the title is a complete lie. The important thing to note is that one advantage this team has over a lot of others in the past is that they actually take the time to set up proper defenses for their headquarters, specifically symbol magic that protects the house from any Nylok. We haven't seen anything like that since the Mighty Morphin days. Kudos. While Jaden deals with a subplot involving the Nylok spying on him, the other Rangers find flyers handed out by the Gold Ranger for his traveling fish shop, and, well, the writing matches the note with the arrow.
What? You're... Uh-oh. No! You're gonna ruin my big moment!
The Rangers get their asses kicked by the subplot, but fortunately they are saved by anchovies.
Now this is a big moment. Man, this is gonna be so golden. Now let's do this. Samurai Morpher! Gold power! Gold is good to go!
He shows off for a bit, much to the amazement of the Rangers, since there isn't any reference to a 6th Ranger in the previous Samurai teams. And as is tradition for a 6th Ranger, he has super speed powers that are rarely implemented, and particularly not in any really useful times. But yeah, it's a very odd introduction episode, especially since the first half is all about the Jaden stuff, and the other introduces the Gold Ranger by showing him as kind of a doofus. A talented doofus, I will admit, but a doofus nonetheless. As for his outfit, it's fine, just a shinier version of the regular outfit, and dark blue in place of black.
Blazing strike! Excelente!
Yeah, about that excelente, his catchphrase in the series will become fantastico, because they need to hammer it into the audience that he's Latino. Except he isn't Latino. His actor, Steven Skyler, is Thai. Whoops. And yes, his Latino...
I know y'all getting mad over race, but what the fuck wrong with y'all two? Y'all act like this hasn't happened before. What's his dumb ass?
Jonathan, it's not the fact that it has happened before, it's the fact that they keep on doing it. And they think it's entertaining.
Do you think?
And they think it's fun. And they think it's good for that to keep happening. But the truth is, it's not. And it's actually irritating every time that happens. Because there's so many other things that they can do that they have not done. Like what Linkara just said. 20 years?
Yes, and they give a fuck.
Why are you yelling?
Because y'all not paying attention to the main point. They don't care. They're making money off of this.
No, they're not. They didn't make any money off of this. They didn't make any money off of this.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This did not do well at all because no one was talking about this.
I know. But
when
for 20 years they did this. And guess what? They made money. They failed. They made money.
They made something.
They made something.
What they made. That's why Megaforce was probably just as bad.
Yes, it was. But they made money. Yo,
Fantastico?
Yes. Unfortunately, yes.
He's tired.
This is not Go Diego Go, Jonathan. That's what I'm getting at.
But for some dumb reason, he is.
This ain't Dora the Explorer.
My nigga.
This ain't
They wanted him to be close to it. That's probably what
but
they told him.
he's tied.
I know that, but that's what they told him to be.
Why?
They paid him to be something else, and guess what? He's
tied. That's why I'm not upset. I'm just mad at the fact that they think that this is an okay thing to do. Especially the fact that they're trying to be, what's the word? Socially aware?
Yeah, but no, they're not. And plus, the time that this came out, things weren't as bad.
You're right, it wasn't. I'm glad I didn't watch this.
I was jumping in my bathroom window. I was jumping.
Yeah, you wouldn't jump because you too.
I'll do it.
And no, I'm not gonna compare this to the Sentai version. I'm not gonna do that. It's just that
this is very disappointing.
Actually, in the Sentai version, I don't know what his nationality was, but
they were all Japanese, Jonathan.
Yes, but he looked more closer to being a Mexican, unfortunately.
They were all Japanese in Sentai version, and him and the Gold Ranger were best friends when they were little.
That wasn't what I was pointing out, but
I know. You were talking about the stupid Mexican thing. Whatever. I'm just saying. It's sad. It's sad that this is still being brought up about thinking that little kids, because that's what they're targeting, are gonna be saying, "Oh yeah, cool."
They probably already had it. Oh,
huh.
yeah, cool.
He does look kind of Mexican. You know. Either way, still kind of dumb.
Wisms sound every bit as forced as you would imagine. But let's forget about that. His Zord is the Octazord, and he even has a pretty awesome Mega Mode. It kind of resembles the Zeo Gold Ranger, just shinier and more metallic.
And again, the only way you'll ever see that is in Antonio, and he won't be outside. That would have been cool
as we see in these hilariously awfully acted flashbacks.
Something the kids
child actors are hit or miss, but Power Rangers is usually pretty good about finding decent ones.
Oh, I guess they were
in
best.
Samurai in previous episodes, there were some decent ones. And yet the recurring one, Jaden's, shows all the enthusiasm of a kid coming down off a sugar rush.
Me and Nimble will always be friends, no matter how far away we are from each other. Alright, I'll keep training, and when you become Red Ranger, I'll come back and be a samurai too, okay? Okay.
And now enjoy this very homoerotic reunion.
Can't believe it's really you.
Believe it, baby, I'm back!
Jesus fuck!
Ready for
I'm fucking quit. I can't do this. I can't do this shit anymore. I don't exist.
Alright, Jonathan, I'm not mad. That was just funny.
No, I can't do this.
Believe it, baby, I'm back.
I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this.
No, I'm not angry.
I can't do
my
this shit.
face is red.
I can't do this shit.
I gotta take off my oh gosh.
I can't do this.
Oh god. Oh my goodness.
I can't do this. I can't take this shit.
This gotta be flared.
You're not Jamaican.
I can't take this shit.
You're not Jamaican. Go in the bathroom and sit.
Believe it, baby, I'm back. I gotta do that again. I'm sorry. Please.
Alright, I'll keep training, and when you become Red Ranger, I'll come back and be a samurai too, okay? Okay.
And now enjoy this very homoerotic reunion.
Can't believe it's really you.
Believe it, baby, I'm back! Ready for some action.
The fuck?
They were about to spar each other.
Oh, okay. Okay, wait a second. Why are you getting that so
close? They were going to spar with each other. I do remember that part. They were about to spar with it.
It was gonna spar already. I fucked it.
Why did he pop his collar though? Why did he pop his collar? He was like,
Stupid.
If you ever spar with me, don't ever pop your collar and come at me like
Nigga,
that.
I'm gonna crack my knuckles first. And then come at you.
Brian, come back.
No, fuck that.
Alright, this is the end of the end of this episode.
Oh gosh.
As you see, we are having a hard time communicating with each other, and he has problems with his bowel movements.
I'm okay.
Not you, him. When that went back there. But
no, I'm just sick of this shit.
See, he gotta take shit. So we'll see you in the next episode, which we are about to record in like a few seconds.
Yes. Let me know what y'all think about this down below. Oh yes, I also wanted to say, since this is on YouTube, you don't have to. I don't have to, make Google Drive links so that people will get lost. It'll just be there. So that's the one good thing out of this.
So I can say this: like, comment, and subscribe.
That's right. We will see y'all again next time. This has been the Ryder Brothers, and my ears are red. I'll see y'all later. Peace.